What is up, geeks and geekettes? It's another episode of the Countdown to the Geekcast. My name is Ted, aka Steady, and this is going to be our Halloween Ends movie review. Joining me today, making his triumphant return, is the one and only Jericho.
What's up, y'all? I don't know what that was.
I mean, it's crazy. He's here.
My partner in crime, you know him as Matty B.
Let's go. Today's episode is brought by Miller Lite.
In here?
Oh boy.
I know. Hold on.
Dun, dun,
We lost
dun.
Remy, but we're connecting him again.
Technical issues. Go for it. Making his return to the Geekcast. You remember him from our review of Ghostbusters Afterlife. It's Brian Ortiz.
Hello. I hate that. Sorry. I have to live with it now. That's on me. That's on me.
And making his debut as his own video screen, it's the one and only Remy.
Say hi.
Bow, bow, bow.
That guy over there somewhere. There it is.
Why is the screen black?
No idea.
Ah, yes, the classic
Interesting.
R.
Try go back out and then go back, and then maybe it'll work.
Yeah.
Oh wait.
Make sure the camera is set. Anyways,
Yeah, we're good.
we're good. This is going to be, as I mentioned earlier, our review of Halloween Ends, a very controversial, probably movie amongst the fandom, and quite possibly the ending to the Halloween franchise. Probably not, but maybe at least this is the closest we've ever been to the ending of the Halloween franchise. So we'll see how it goes. You know how we do this. We want to hear from you guys. Let us know what you thought about Halloween Ends. You can drop your comments in the comment box below, or if you're listening to this in podcast form, you can always email us on the contact page of our website at www.countdowntothegeekcast.com. And we want to hear from you guys. Let us know, because there's a lot of opinions about this movie, and we're going to talk about a few of them here today. So, gentlemen, let's start with our general thoughts and overview about the movie. Not any spoiler territory, not any juicy details. Your general thoughts and feelings about the movie. And Matty B, let's start with you, man.
I liked it. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It was pretty good. Anytime that Will Patton is in anything, I love it. But this movie was just okay for me.
Short and sweet to the point. Love it. Brian Ortiz, you, sir.
Yeah.
We want to hear from you. General thoughts about the movie.
Overall, I'll say the same thing. I liked it. But here's the caveat. As a single film by itself, I liked it. As part of those final 3 movies, I loved it. I actually thought it was really nice as a whole. As an individual, I liked it. I had a good time.
Very nice, very nice. And Jericho, let's go over to you, sir. Let's get your general overview and thoughts about Halloween Ends.
We're still having audio issues with the phone, so I don't know how we'll get them on. But overall, it was a film.
Fair enough.
Michael Myers, was there. Yeah. I told Ted this earlier. I saw, because I was busy putting the baby to sleep. So when I joined watching, it was like the last hour of it, I think. And I immediately lost interest. And I was excited to watch it. And I started watching it. I'm like, it didn't do it for me. I stuck it through, but I sort of checked out in a way.
I gotcha. Yeah. Remy, you are the big horror movie fan. Let's hear from you. What is your thoughts about Halloween Ends? Did you like it? Did you love it? Did you not like it as much? Tell us. And go. Remy, did you like the movie?
I liked
Yeah?
the first 20 minutes, and then I liked the last scene.
So you like the first 20 minutes, and then you like the last scene. Is that it? That's fair. That's a fair opinion.
Fair enough.
I
Yeah, that's
appreciate
fair
it.
enough.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's a solid review. That's
Yeah.
a real thing.
They did the same thing on Cisco and Ebert.
Yeah. that's
Same thing. First 20, last 20, middle 20. Thanks to
Yeah.
Cisco and Ebert.
But who has the thumbs now? But anyways.
There you go. There you
They're
go.
like
And-
metaphorical thumbs now. You know what I'm saying? They're just
Yeah.
everyone has thumbs now. As a company, everyone's got the thumbs.
And I'm going to sort of piggyback off you guys. There was a lot to like about this movie. There was a lot of new elements about this movie. This is the most, and I told this to Scott Taylor Compton, name drop. Sorry, I know I'm bad. But I told this to Scott, Scout Taylor Compton.
Yeah, I was gonna say, who's Scott?
Yeah.
It's been a long day. I'm very tired.
You had to give the Scouts honor to even get the interview.
Absolutely. I told her that this is the most different and unique Halloween film of the entire franchise, not including Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. And she completely agreed with me. And then, so I'm going to say what kind of you guys already mentioned. I liked it. It's not my favorite, but I liked it for what it was. It gave me things in the Halloween franchise that I didn't expect. And most of the time, that's a plus if it's something new and inventive. This franchise has been very repetitive for obvious reasons. It's a slasher movie. You're gonna slash people, and there's only one guy that does the slashing. This one took some bold choices, and I feel like they were refreshing, and I enjoyed them. Not my favorite Halloween movie, but the things that it tried to do, I felt worked most of the time. And so there's a lot to like about this movie. But anyone who says that this wasn't maybe the final episode of the Laurie Michael sort of saga, it didn't feel that way, I would agree with them. I wouldn't try and argue against it. And so that will conclude our spoiler review, non-spoiler review. See, long day. That will conclude our non-spoiler review. If you haven't seen the movie, pause this video right now. Go check out Halloween Ends, and then come back and see what else we have to say about it. But here we're gonna get into the details. Tell me what you. Let's start what we didn't. No, let's start what we liked about it first. Maddie B, we'll start with you again, sir. Elements of the movie that you really liked, whether it's the arc of Laurie Strode, whether it's the relationship between the daughter and this new guy, whether it's sort of any of those elements, the kills. What did you really appreciate about this movie?
There's a lot of things I did appreciate about the movie, and it did feel like a Halloween movie at a lot of points. Most of my complaints are not in actually what happened; it's in what they could have done better. And is my camera flashing for you guys? Anybody can deal with it. As long as my audio is going, that's fine. But it's what they could have done better. So we have a battle-worn Laurie, right? And she's writing her memoirs. And I thought that a really clever way for them to go through this would be if she was sort of writing her ending or writing whatever story was going on. I thought that would have been a really cool way to deal with this ending here as she's writing her memoirs, finishing her book, maybe finishing her story. It was those types of things that I thought they just could have executed on a little bit better. I didn't mind, this new entity, this new serial killer coming into the play, Laurie's daughter sort of being in a relationship or like sort of, what's the word for it? Not obsessed, but not obsessed. Look at this.
Man, that flash is good. You're disappearing even. Oh, God.
Oh, my God. I mean, literally.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
All of a sudden, Anonymous is going to be over here, and we're going to be getting a message about the end here.
Oh, my goodness.
But
you're digitizing yourself.
But that's where I'm going to leave it. I'm going to fix this camera. Let me know what you guys thought, and if it hit for you. There was nothing in this movie I hated, but there were some things I thought we could do better.
You were drowning in like digital.
You are
static
drowning
right
in digital oceans right now, dude.
He should have been like
fell
kinda...
into a 1980s video game.
That was awesome. Okay. Yep.
And he's back.
No, I'm not. I'll
Give
fix
another.
it.
Okay.
Your house is haunted. Brian, let us know
Yeah.
what you thought that you liked. What did you appreciate about this movie? What are the things that did work for
Sure.
you?
I'll try to be succinct. One, the kills. The kills were always fun. I really enjoyed the kills in this one, especially towards the end when our main antagonist was going crazy and just really wailing on the town. Really enjoyed those kills a lot. I think the two big things that worked for me was in previous versions, like you said, these movies are repetitive, right? It's a slasher film, and so the ones that attempt to get away from the Michael Myers formula that we've seen have like a very fluctuating like and dislike amongst fans, right?
Right.
Some people love 3 and hate 3. A lot of people do, right? And then 4, 5, and 6, you have a lot of people who are all over the place. Everyone likes the first Halloween with Rob Zombie, but not the second one. So there's every time they try to do something different, you have a lot of mixed reviews. I liked the attempt that they did with what's his name again in the movie? Is it Corey?
Corey, yeah.
Yeah, Corey.
I like what they did with Corey because like I enjoyed them trying to do something different. I think it was just enough. It wasn't the entire story arc. It did consume most of the movie, and the movie did feel like two separate movies, which can be a problem. I agree to that. But I
Right.
enjoy the attempt, and I enjoy the payoff when he finally loses it and just goes to town on it. And I really enjoyed the buildup to that. The dialogue didn't support it as much as I'd hoped, but I liked the journey and I was there. And I specifically again, spoiler, I really liked the ending a lot, actually, for two reasons. One, I love seeing Laurie Strode and her granddaughter, right? Her niece.
Granddaughter, you got it.
Right.
Yeah, it's her
Her
granddaughter.
her granddaughter just wailing on him, and the fight between her and Michael in the kitchen was so visceral, very intense, just all over the place. And I really appreciate that's what I was hoping to see, and I didn't need to see a whole hour and a half of that. I really enjoyed what I got, which is this really cool fight, and I enjoyed the ending. And I'll finish by saying the best thing I loved most of all that most of these horror franchises don't give us is when there's an ending, the good guy actually won, like the whole thing. Like, dude, Jason's no one's winning. No one's winning in Jason. No one's winning in A Nightmare on Elm Street. Nobody's winning in Texas Chainsaw. Nobody ever wins because they want to keep making these movies. So for me, I thought it was pretty bold and refreshing to be like, hey, she won. Everyone's happy. Like, it's done. Like, they won. And we got to see Michael's body get eviscerated in the machine. And I thought that was pretty cool. I don't normally see that in horror movies. So those are some of my big positive takeaways from the film.
Ever since they've been doing those like videos where they're just like throwing in stuff, I always wondered like, why don't we see these type of kills in horror movies? And look, we got one in Halloween. So yeah, all those like short form videos where they're throwing like watermelons or they're throwing like bicycles or iPhones for some reason. I don't know why, but yeah, it was really cool to finally see that. It was a great visual, better than I thought it would be.
Satisfying.
Oh, insane!
Just like when they throw Jello into those machines, it's satisfying. It's the same thing. It's both.
I mean, hours on TikTok. I've started watching it. Yeah.
If they just loop that scene with him over and over again, we might get a lot of views. You know what I'm saying? Just that one crushing every couple of minutes.
Yeah, I agree.
Jericho, how about you, sir? What really worked for you in Halloween Ends?
Well, kind of like what Brian said, the whole kitchen fight scene I thought was amazing. Like, I thought that was really, really good, because you don't know who's going to come out on top.
Yeah.
To me, I think even at that point in the movie, I didn't know if Michael was in fact going to die, but yeah, that whole kitchen fight scene, it's such a close quarter combat. And I mean, we know Laurie's been training for years, and we didn't really get to see her put too much of her training into action. But in this movie, she kind of did. And I mean, she freaking stabbed his hand or I don't remember if it was her. No, I think it was, she stabbed his hand into the.
She stabbed his hand into the table. Yeah. The island.
Yeah, into the island.
And then dropped the fridge.
Yeah, dropped the fridge. I mean, he
So
lifts up his hand. You see his hand split.
But let's be honest.
I mean,
I could not go in my kitchen and turn my fridge over. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that was a bit much. I mean, those things are heavy. I don't know.
I could not flip my.
She's got that like adrenaline mom strength.
True.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like she's fighting for her life.
Yeah,
she can lift a bus.
There's some plot armor there, but yeah.
But it's like, okay, you're wasting time trying to. What if she couldn't move the fridge onto him? That's
Yeah.
giving him plenty of time to do something. But overall, I mean, that battle, that scene was great. Honestly, some of the kills were good too. Besides that, that's all that worked for me. That's all that I really enjoyed out of it. I mean, it didn't. It wasn't what I was expecting. It really
Yeah.
wasn't.
I totally agree with you, Jericho.
Yeah.
So like when like I think like for example, they spent a lot of this movie building up the next Michael Myers. That the
Yeah.
first half of this movie was setting up the next, and Michael even had recognized that and said, "Well, I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to. You're going to be my protege, if you will." He took him under his wing, kinda, and that was just thrown out of the window. And then it got to the point of the ending scene, and the writers in the room knew that that was going to be their payoff, and they didn't pay attention to the rest. It felt like a little bit because what was the point of setting all that up if it was just going to, because of course we want Laurie and Michael going at it at the end, of course that we were going to get there, but what was the payoff of the first 3/4 of the movie?
Because not only do they set it up, but then he ends up killing himself. You know what I mean? Like, why?
It was useless.
Yeah, like, so that's one thing that really bothered me about it. I mean, I was fine setting up a whole, new Michael or whatever.
Right.
But
I
then
loved it.
for nothing, he's like, well, if you can't have her, or if I can't have her, you can't have her, and kills himself. Yeah.
Great
And
line.
I don't know. So
Great line.
that
It's
was
supposed
great.
to be if you can't have her, if I can't have her, no one can. Is usually how it's said, and it's been said so many different times in so many different scenarios. But the way that he did it differently, it really worked. The thing that you don't like, Matt, is actually what I do like. So this trilogy has always sort of been more grounded in nature than any of the other Halloweens. That was something very evident just from the 2018 film. Is like, no, this guy is human. He wasn't doing any of those supernatural things that we saw, from 2 on forward, because
Yeah.
Michael's been shot multiple times, stabbed multiple times, lit on fire, like blown up, and yet he keeps returning like all these different ways. So this is the most grounded Halloween. So what I really appreciate is that I always had this question, like he's he was beaten to like an inch away from death in the last movie at the very end. How do you make him come back from that? How does he should be a shell of himself after the beating that he took at the end of the last movie. And the way they responded was, well, we're not going to have him doing most of the killing in this one because he's still suffering. He's still not fully healed. It's clear because this is the most audible Michael Myers we've ever had in any movie. You could hear his breathing throughout the movie, which is never a thing. It's almost like he's Vader, sort of struggling to breathe. Like
I
he's
don't know.
just
I think the
barely
breathing through the
hanging
mask
on.
is like Halloween.
It's not. It's not at all. You very rarely hear Michael breathe, especially when he's about to kill somebody. Like he's a stealth ninja. Like he comes out of nowhere when you least expect it. He's a velociraptor, is what he is, or a great white shark. He attacks you when you
Clever
least
girl.
expect it.
I don't. I
You
don't.
you
I have to
rarely
say
ever
I
hear him.
disagree. I think he's
You
like
rarely ever hear
he's a
him.
loud breathing. He's a mouth breather for
This was
sure.
different. This was different. This was like a suffering type of breathing. It was like not completely a normal type of breath, and so you kind of feel that he's struggling. And so I like those elements. These are all very new elements. The whole Padawan thing, very new, very different, and I found myself grinning from ear to ear. I was just like, I don't know if I love this or not, but I am enjoying that it's
Yeah.
something I've never experienced before. Like seeing Michael almost in a way, in a weird way, you can't see expressions, but when he sees Corey killing somebody, or like they're handing off a kill, like he kills that guy, Michael goes and kills this girl. It's weird. It's almost like he's enjoying this, like he's a proud father in a way. Like these are all very new feelings and experiences that I'm going through and that the movie's giving us. And so I appreciate the bold choices and that they're trying something very new and very different. I don't know how y'all's experience was in y'all's theater. There was something very different I felt in mine. I was in a theater that the quality of the picture and the audio were supposed to be enhanced. The AVX, the AVX theater, and so there was intense music throughout the movie, even in moments where there was sort of not a lot of drama being experienced, and it built up so much tension. So I appreciate and I really liked the the environment that they were trying to establish throughout the movie. You were on the edge of your seat throughout because this is a very different tone that they set up in the very beginning seconds of the movie, blasting a radio broadcast over the opening credits, and just all of these sort of little elements in the soundtrack supporting the scenes. It was very different. It was making you jump almost in a way. Like my seat was rumbling
You
throughout
must
the
have been at
movie.
it sounds like you were at the best theater that's ever existed, but
Well, you know what?
I mean, were
Sorry to
you on
name
a
drop.
4D ride or what?
Michael and
I might
D-Box,
try
the
that. I might
favorites.
try that. Shout
I
out
agree,
to
Ted.
Universal Pictures actually because it was their screening that I was invited to. So shout out to them. I really appreciate it. Had a great experience. Shout out to Universal. You guys are top notch.
Ted, I agree with you actually on something that I agree with you, but I think I'm going to shift something you said. Like
Go
two
for it.
things. One, I like the Corey thing only because it's fresh. Because in a fresh, and what I mean by that is that a Halloween movie actually did it. How many false starts have we had throughout the franchise of somebody taking over? Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, how many movies have ended with like, oh, there's a new Michael Myers killer concept? You know what I'm saying? And I just watched them, so I'm like, oh, this through line, this thought process of handing down the blade to someone else is not new. So I actually appreciate whether they failed or not. That's for the audience to decide. I just like that they went through with the damn thing. Finally, we finally got someone who's like, hey, we got a Padawan. We're gonna let him go to town and actually try this. Pass or fail, they did it, and I'm appreciative. Two, I think to what you're talking about, where this is the most grounded. You know how there's always been a supernatural sense, especially after two, like because he burned in the fire, and all of a sudden he's back, baby.
He's back.
Michael Myers is back. Don't make no sense. But I think that this movie actually does have a supernatural undertone that is very
Mm.
small because I think I interpreted that every time he was killing or the Padawan was killing in his name, he got stronger all of a sudden.
Life
He
force.
stood
It was
tall.
every single time.
Yes, he was stealing. I agree. There's a visual sense of him like straightening his back, getting stronger. And I think before he got full strength, Corey overtakes him, takes the mask, and then that's what puts him over the top to be like, you know what? No, gets up. We see him return, take the mask back, fight Laurie, yada yada.
Yeah.
Now, I will say what Jericho was saying, like, it's not the smoothest transition through everything, and it definitely feels like two separate movies. But I do enjoy the two separate movies. It just didn't come together perfectly cohesively in the end. But that's where I say all three of the movies, when you watch them together, actually make sense. You know what I'm saying? Like if
Yeah.
you binge this thing like a Netflix show, I think it would read better. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing for audiences? That's a good question. You know what I'm saying? Is that format really the best to tell that story? Maybe not. But I really appreciate what they tried along the way with the format story, little Corey thing, and then our final, like, maybe this underlying supernatural, which we've had before.
Yeah.
Big old ending.
Jericho, where you at?
What was the
What do you
question?
think? What do you? Well,
We're sharing mics over here and headsets.
No, for sure. But no, and you guys brought up good points. My thing with this so far is and just because I love Halloween and I watched the other movies before I watched this one, and I don't like any film or product that I could watch the last 20 minutes and know everything that I needed to know.
Oh, interesting.
There's nothing that I could watch it. I could rewind the film. I could go to 20 minutes to the end credits, and I know everything that I needed to know. It didn't set me up with anything. It didn't establish anything. It didn't do anything at all for me. I could watch the last 20 minutes of that film and know exactly what happened, and we knew that it was going to be Laurie versus Michael at the end.
I think Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say Corey's transition though, like to being traumatized in the opening credits. Again, different tone. This was a much different opening than any other Halloween. I, I almost think it's great that I'm sitting there looking at my son like, what just happened as the theme music starts. But Corey's transition from beginning to end, seeing the trauma that he went through, seeing how it affected him,
Falsely accused of murder to turning into murderer.
falsely accused, but also being shunned, bullied. Like
Right.
he wasn't just alone, like going through this. He was feeling the entire town turn against him and
Yeah.
casting him out like a leper, and that does something to a person's psyche when, like, not just listen. We've talked in the past, and some movies have done things on like cyberbullying, like the impacts of just cyberbullying can have on a young individual or an adult, but to have an entire town just casting you out, that does something to a person.
Well, that's also something they did well because that's a very 80s trope. Like in today's society, the town shunning you doesn't really mean anything, but getting shunned online, means a lot. And so it was a very 80s thing in this moment here for
That's
the
so
entire
true.
town. So they're like looking at him and they're saying you're shunned. That's a very 80s trope, and it was very Halloween for the time that movie had came out. All I'm
Mhm.
saying is they didn't pay him off.
Yeah.
He had no payoff.
I'm of the mindset, like I mentioned earlier, that Corey's purpose, value, is to uh have the kills that Michael's not capable of doing himself. Michael cannot go on a rampage. I really do think they try to, and I agree with Brian that there's this weird element they're trying to incorporate. Like he's like shivering and like enjoying that first kill again, and I'm like, what is going on? But I
Life
do
Force.
think that Michael is not, he's a shell of himself. He cannot cause the havoc or the chaos that he once did. He's now in his 60s. I believe
Yeah.
his actual age in this movie is 65. If I'm doing the math correct, because he was born in 63. So no, I think I got that
Yeah.
wrong. 67. He's born in 67, I think, as lore goes, and now he's whatever I said, 65. But yeah, so I
This is
think the purpose of Corey is to cause the chaos and havoc and up the kill count that Michael cannot do himself.
That's a good way to look at it. I never thought of it that way. Both him and Lori are at the end of their time. And they're both tired, they're both exhausted, and both of them
They're
just
both
give like,
retired.
and they're both like in the kitchen. They're like, you know what? Last time, let's do this. Let's go right now, full energy, everything we got left. And after whoever lives and dies, that's it. You do get
But
that sense at the end, but
But the
the payoff is
supernatural element is part of Michael Myers, actually. So, like, I know that you
yeah,
like that this movie was grounded, but it actually is just kind of a thing that Michael Myers is like a really hard dude to kill, and that he does overcome certain things. And and I get they're both on their last chapter. I'm just saying, I think it just seems like Michael Myers found an Eddie Munson, and and that's what happened. And like Corey was Eddie Munson. You see what I'm saying? And it was like but there was no payoff for that character whatsoever.
sure.
Now, if there was a little bit of hope that Corey had survived stabbing himself into the neck, and we did see the mask at the end, if there was a little bit of hope that we didn't see him get into the meat grinder, but you know what I'm saying, like if there was a little bit more of a tease of maybe Corey's the new Michael Myers, I think that would have went really far, especially with her granddaughter kind of like being in love with him, and then whatever happened at the end, and maybe she takes on the mantle of Lori in another movie. But it didn't do any of that.
I
You know,
gotcha.
that's a good point.
I gotta
McFly.
correct myself real quick.
All right,
Michael
go
was
ahead.
born in 55, not 65.
There
He
you go.
was 10 years old in 65 when he murdered his sister. Go on.
I think Ted's right. I think Matt's right that like, here's a good question. I think that's exactly like you could do another one of these movies. Jamie Lee Curtis is gone. We have the new character being the Laurie character, right? And just like every other Michael Myers movie, like even though he stabbed himself in the neck, you cut to somewhere where like he wakes up somewhere else and he's still alive, right? The
Yeah.
question is, do you think Halloween, diehard Halloween fans would accept that?
Not at all.
I think they might accept it more than this one. I mean, I don't know that diehard Halloween fans love this movie. So
Hmm.
let's say that they hate this movie and they would hate what they did here too. At least you would have done something interesting over here.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
It's weird. It's almost like what this is the end of the, like I mentioned, Laurie Michael saga, and so I would have felt almost a little bit cheated if they would have set up another movie. Like this is supposed to be the end. It's in the title, folks. It's not Laurie Michael end. It's Halloween ends. So I would have felt a little cheated if they would have set up a potential copycat going forward. It's like Episode 9. Episode 9 of Star Wars is supposed to be end of the Skywalker saga. If they would have set up something going forward, it would have been like, that's not what you told us. And you don't ever want to tell folks one thing and do another. Unless you're Marvel. You can get away with it if you're Marvel, but not anybody else. Let's talk about what we didn't like, even though we're kind of in there
Oh,
a little bit right now.
Before we
but
leave, before we leave, I gotta say we talked about this in the car, Ted. Shout out for making Band Geeks the bullies. Like,
yes,
heavy shout out for Band Geeks being such dicks.
Well,
They've
that's
come a long
actually
way.
but it's also a new trend. I think is that the nerds are the bullies now.
I think it's great. I love it. I'm here
Yeah.
for that. I was in band and I was like, I wish I was that hardcore. You know, like I want to almost commit murder by throwing people off bridges. That's awesome.
Jericho,
But yeah,
let's
shout
start
out to
with you,
them.
man.
There you go.
Absolutely. Jericho, what did not work for you that much in Halloween Ends?
I mean, really, it comes back to the whole Corey thing. Send him up, and then just no big payoff for him. To me, that was a big chunk of the movie, and like you said, seeing him do all these kills and seeing like it just felt like okay, this I was fine with if they said okay, this is the new Michael, and there'll be a few other movies after this or whatever, a few years down the road. I would have been fine with that, and because this is the end of the Michael Laurie, so for me that would have been fine, but nothing. I mean, nothing came out of it. I don't know if it almost seemed like he was trying to redeem himself when he tried to stop Michael. I don't know if that's what he was doing by grabbing his foot or his leg or whatever. And Michael's like, screw that, and curb
thought of
stomp.
that.
But
I didn't think about that either, Jericho.
And
That's a good
that
point.
actually,
That's how I
man,
kinda
that
saw it,
spins
yeah.
a really wow, that spins a very interesting ending story on. I gotta think about that. That's actually really smart. I didn't think
But
about
at the
that.
same time, it's almost a cop out if you think of it, because it's like, again, set up this whole movie for him to be a killer. He's had this trauma, all this stuff growing up, and now at the last minute, he's bleeding out, and he's trying to, with whatever strength he had, he tried to stop Michael. At least that's how I saw it. He tried to stop him, only for Michael to just be like, nope, boom, you're done. But so I felt it was great because like he was trying to redeem himself, but at the same time, almost a cop out, like just trying to give him that to where he's not the villain after all. He was misunderstood.
That is weird. It was weird. He was trying to stop him, and I'm like, you're kind of on his team, right? But the last time they had an altercation with one another or interaction with one another was when Corey is stealing his mask. So maybe that's Corey like officially cutting ties with him. Like, I'm doing this on my own. We're doing this my way or something. I don't know.
I think it had more to do
That's
with
not
his love,
clear.
because he loved Laurie's granddaughter, and he was obsessed with her.
She's
And
not there though.
but I think it
He
has to
already
do with
drove
like
off.
if I think it was like I'm going to be in control of this.
Yeah.
I'm the new one now. I think that was kind of like where he was coming from. But again, Jericho, you bring up. I'm gonna have to watch it again now with that
Yeah.
perspective.
That's a good
I
perspective,
will,
man.
Yeah.
And it was just a
go
few
ahead.
other. Sorry, it was just a few other little things that kind of didn't work for me. Some of the kills that Michael did just felt out of character, especially the DJ, the radio host or whatever, the radio DJ.
Or
Oh,
Corey.
okay. Yeah.
Was that Corey that
No.
did it? I thought it was Michael.
Yeah. No, Corey.
That
It
was
was Corey.
Corey.
Oh, okay, then
Yeah.
never mind. Then that works for me.
Yeah. It was out of character because
Oh, we're
it was
good.
just
We're good.
it was just a different character.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Because
I
visually it
think
looks
like
cool.
a good majority of those last ones were all Corey just going to
Okay.
town.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Alright,
all
then-
Corey except for the
Woman in the
dentist.
house, the dentist. Yeah,
Woman in the
the
house.
lady that works for him, right? That she stabs through into the wall.
Yeah.
What about
Oh
Will
yeah,
Patton?
you're
though?
right. You're right.
Will Patton, because he was in 2018 Halloween, right? And
Yes.
if you guys don't know Will Patton, I mean, look up
Yes.
just look up his IMDb. I mean,
Yes.
incredible
He's
actor.
huge.
What was his? Is there something else there too? Because I mean, he like obviously he sees her in the grocery store, and obviously he really likes Lori. There's a little bit of a crush thing. Was that just like a diversion, or is like Will Patton? Would that be setting up in another movie? It seemed the whole time like they were like they would put him in different instances to calm Lori or to make Lori know that the whole town doesn't think she's crazy or whatever, and just at the end they're sitting on the porch together, right?
I think it's like a final reward for Lori. Like, hey, all these years, there's a nice person. Here you go.
Yeah,
You get one nice person.
He drinks 2%, just one glass a day.
Exactly.
They
both survived Michael Myers stuff, and cherry blossoms are your jam. So here you go. This is your reward.
Anytime I see him, I love him. The first
I love that
time, the first time I ever really watched him, I think it was in Remember the Titans.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But Will Patton's a great actor, so I love that he was back in here, and I love that Jamie Lee Curtis took this role back on, and is like wearing it as the end, and it felt like she was like battle scarred and ready to go. My only problem with the movie again is just that final scene is what sold the movie, and that's all that they really kind of set up. I mean, the rest of it was just sort of.
I got you. Brian, what about you, sir? Things that didn't work for you as much.
Like I said, there's a couple of bad moments of dialogue that I could have done without, and a little bit of a rushed sense of character development for that change. I understand that there's a passage of time, so I get it, but it's just a little quick. But I think, and I can get past it because I mean, all these movies have terrible. I mean, everything Paul Rudd says in Part 6 is terrible, but Jesus, everything he says is terrible.
And we love Paul Rudd. Big Paul Rudd guys.
Rudd.
We love big Paul Rudd guys.
If Paul Rudd's watching the show, I love you, Paul. I do, but I'm just telling you, like, I don't know what was going on there, dude. I think it was a paycheck. But look, the thing that just didn't work for me. I love the ideas. I love what they were trying to say. I just don't think it was a cohesive. I don't think there was a cohesive blend of the two going along the way. And I only say that because you can definitely feel that there is a hard cut in that third act after he's done. And then Michael Myers shows up and we get this awesome ending fight scene and ending story to Lori. Like that whole ending part, I'm like, yeah. But the other one just stopped. Like it just, you can tell it stopped. And I know that it serves a purpose. I know that they're trying to say something. There's a lot of commentary. And I did enjoy the Corey story, but it just felt like there's a hard stop. There's a hard cut in the middle. And it was a little too jarring for my taste for the story. So I wish it was just a bit more cohesive, like flowing ending, or like Matt said, some one last thing to tie the Corey story at the end completely up. Whatever it is, just one more thing.
What an eclectic and good point of view. That was just a knowledgeable way to break down the movie. There was a specific hard stop.
Absolutely, there you can feel it. You can see it and you can feel it. Jesus Christ.
A lot of the same things you guys said. I will also kind of reiterate the dialogue, or not the dialogue, but the character Allison. I felt like was too easily manipulated to come from such a strong mother and grandmother, especially with everything that she's been through. Definitely, I was a little taken back by Jamie's character, Laurie Strode, being almost too positive in this movie. I'm just like, this is interesting.
She set her up.
Michael's on the loose. He's been gone for 4 years, and yet we're baking desserts and stuff. Like she had really moved on with her life, and I guess maybe it's almost a way that she's trying to cope with the loss of her daughter and everything. Like it's almost a facade that she's trying to hold up, possibly. But we get back to like Lori, like in the last act, like this is who she is, setting up who she thought was Michael, and turning the gun on him and stuff like that. Like that's what I expected to find. I agree that there's a whole lot of convoluted sort of mess throughout the first hours. In a way, very slow for me. They probably need to take some stuff out to kind of speed it up. It went on too long before we even found out Michael is still around. In my opinion, but that's kind of it. Everything else not didn't work for me entirely, but I was pretty okay with everything besides that. I'm willing to go with it. I'm willing to kind of stretch my beliefs with whatever else they're trying to accomplish in this movie, and just go from there. It's very different, and I already mentioned it's refreshing in a lot of ways. We won't ever get anything like this again. I promise you, it won't ever happen like this. But
Let's hope
we got
not.
it once. We got it once, and they'll either learn. I don't know if we had gotten an hour and a half or hour and 45 minutes of Lori hunting Michael, Michael, evading her, being elusive as always, and causing chaos. I think fans would have probably resonated with that more, and but it would have felt safer. It would have felt a lot safer as a conclusion to this trilogy, and in this different way that they decided to go and do it, it brings up way more feelings and emotions and thoughts that we weren't going to have if we had gone the other way. It's quite intriguing that they decided to do this at all. Not really sure what they were thinking. Yeah, but yeah,
What do you
it's
think
interesting.
about the fact that, like to me, because like when I think about the movie all the way back, and Lori's Allison had a few words for Lori on this specific topic of, well, you've already gotten everybody killed around me. It looks very much like Lori set up Allison to be with this serial killer because she knew she was going to lure Michael out of out of the, the woodworks, and that she set it all up for her to get her final payoff at the end. And she doesn't care who dies in between. She doesn't care about the fact that she got her daughter and everybody killed. She doesn't care if Allison gets killed. It seems like she was very gung ho. You need to go out with Corey kind of in the beginning. And then she started weighing off a little bit, but it just seems like she set up her granddaughter to lure Michael out to get her final payoff at the end, and she doesn't care who goes through it.
I don't know how you come up with that. That's a
But
I don't
how
know
not?
how Lori. I don't know how Lori comes up to that conclusion that her daughter dating somebody would lure Michael out into the open.
No, it's her granddaughter. Remember, so
Granddaughter.
so her daughter, and I mean, it was pretty massive killing that took place. Okay, so Lori's responsible basically for the death of her daughter, which is the mother of Allison, and is gung ho about her dating Corey right away. Would you
True.
agree? And
Yeah.
so she all the while she's writing her memoirs,
Right.
and I think that a little bit of Lori knew that was going to draw Michael out because
How?
she knew Corey, because Corey's a weird dude,
Oh.
and Corey was ostracized and might be the only one because she knows Michael more than anybody. So if Michael's going to take anybody under his wing, it would be someone like that. And so when I look at the movie back, I'm like, Lori's actually kind of a piece of shit.
You know what's interesting is that because this retcons like the entire Halloween franchise, Lori doesn't know Michael that well at all. It's only the one night is her experience with him, and other than that, nothing else has happened in 40 years until
But
he breaks out.
she spent 40 years obsessing over him.
Definitely obsessing, but there's no ties, there's no family lineage, there's no pattern of anything. Like it erases a lot.
But Michael did kill Allison's mother, right?
He definitely did, yes. And then he's gone. Like nobody's looking for him. Like it's very weird. You know what's also weird is that this is Halloween night, and there's like no. I don't remember seeing like trick or treating or the town celebrating Halloween in any sort of way.
There was not even a Halloween decoration.
They do build the setup like the thing that's smart about 2, and the only reason 2 works is because 1 and 3 are the bookends of it. Otherwise, by itself, it's like, what? is that they do they what I like about it is that part 3 is like, hey, we know what the heck happened to Lori. We got that whole first movie where she did all this cool trapping and everything. Let's talk about the larger scope of things. Like, how is everyone else dealing with this?
Sure.
And that's kind of one of my favorite concepts. It's like the
Yeah.
town is not doing well, and neither are the people of this town. And like state troopers are coming in, like and I really appreciate that the world is like not just the small block on Haddonfield, and that there's a larger problem happening. And so I
Yeah.
think part 3 is the result of that. That
Yeah.
we saw how bad that night was, and once again they're like, no more Halloween. You know what I'm saying? They're very adamant about that. And it's the movie truly does reflect the world building between 1 and 2. And I find that interesting.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because you're right. For a town that loved Halloween, not a single Halloween decoration.
But that's a great freaking point, Brian. Maybe they're like, no Halloween ever in this town again. Maybe all of them are just like, I'm done with it right now. No trick or treat.
Yeah.
No beautiful pumpkins and backgrounds. None of that.
No.
No.
I think each movie. That's why I'm saying each movie works. If you binge it, you can see the actual change of both Laurie Strode. You can see the town change. You see every individually. They're kind of like, what is happening? But when you see it together, it does tell a cohesive story. Even though that it's, again, some parts are still a little jumpy, there is a big picture, and that's pretty cool.
I love that.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Absolutely. This is a good time to get to our Geekcast ratings for Halloween Ends, and we want to hear from you guys. Let us know what you thought about Halloween Ends. The scale is 1 to 5, 1 being Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, and 5 being the original 78 film. We want to hear from y'all. Let us know what you think about Halloween Ends. Jericho, let's start with you on the Geekcast rating, 1 to 5. What's yours?
I'm gonna go with a 2, a solid 2.
Mm,
Yeah, I enjoyed pieces of it and a couple of scenes here and there, but yeah, no, it was a 2 for me.
very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
Matty B, what about you, sir?
I'm gonna go with a 3.3, and the only reason why I do that is because I think there were solid ideas in the writing room and with the director, but I just feel like no one could decide on an idea. But I think it was there though, and I think that there was a lot of time. So a 3.3 for me on a scale of 1 to 5.
Interesting. Very good. Brian, what about you, man?
I'm going to give Halloween Ends also a 3, but specifically Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, because they tried something different, and I appreciate that. And I really appreciated what they was doing something different. Now, I would like to say all 3 of those movies are probably a 4. I think together as a trilogy, they tell a really good story collectively, which for me
Solid.
would probably be Halloween 1. I guess technically, but I know that's fine. Well, you get my point. You get my point. Also, Halloween 3, because they tried some. Halloween 3 is my metric for everything. So what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do here? But I will say 3 for that one, 4 for the entire.
There you go. There you go. And I'm a little bit higher than you guys. Mine would be a 3.75, which is just probably under my 2018 rating, but still above my
Oh.
Kills rating, I think. So that brings our overall Geekcast rating to a 3, pretty much.
Wait,
So
wait. I'm sorry, I messed up.
Go for it.
5 is the bad one, right? Where 5 is the
no, 5 is a
not
good one.
Oh, 5 is a good one. All right, so
Yeah.
I
5
was
is a good
going
one.
up. So
No,
okay.
no. You're just really surprised they gave it that high of a score.
Yeah, right. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
There's actually, well, we talked about it. There's a lot that works for me, even though Michael's not in this a whole lot. I can get past that. My mindset is he's in his mid to late 60s. He's half dead. You can't have him going around all willy nilly, being a strapping young lad going around murdering people. How do you achieve what you want in a slasher film if your main antagonist isn't capable of committing these atrocities? Well, you have somebody do it for him. And so I'm like, hey, I can get behind this because you're this writing team is answering these questions I had after Kills. I really thought like Michael can't be really that much alive anymore because of the beating he took in that last one. I mean, he was stabbed, beaten with bats, shot at least once, Like he should
He's
not
been
be.
burned.
But
Yeah,
he's also, there is the element of the supernatural that's
Mhm.
underlying in all of
sub
them.
subtext has never been officially. Yeah, there's no like scale or like way to test that. But you're right. They do try and show us that there is that element, but if you pay attention to the background of a lot of these scenes, there's a lot of missing posters. There's a lot of missing billboards.
Right.
Michael's actively killing people, and even
Yes.
the homeless guy tells us he takes people in there. They don't come out. Michael's doing killing, and so if they're trying to tell us as soon as he starts killing again, he's gonna be a badass. He's been killing. We don't know how many people he's killed in the last 4 years. It's a time jump that they gave us, I think. So it is interesting
It,
because they do tell us people are missing. They do tell us he's been murdering people on the down low, and somehow, for some reason,
Which
nobody's
is my
bothered by
favorite,
it, and that
when
he's also not coming out of his shell, even though
Think of it.
he's
If he's eating life force, he just needs a little bit every couple of months to
no,
survive.
but I'm on your page, Brian. I think it's just it's that's his life force. So I think that like that's the underlying supernatural element of Michael
but he's
Myers.
been killing. But he's been killing. If you're
I know,
if they want to
but
tell us
65
killing,
is not that old. Have you ever seen The Sopranos? Paulie Walnuts was killing people. The dude was 70.
so okay, so it begs the question: did we need Halloween Ends? Could
No.
they have added this 4-year time jump to Halloween Kills? Add the 4-year time jump. Give us an extra 20 minutes. Give us that final battle. Avoid the whole Corey setup, and just give us that. Like, would that have made a bigger difference compared to an entire movie where the only best part about it was that final scene?
I think the sickest thing that could have happened for me, and this is what I was thinking was going to happen the whole time before Corey killed himself, was that if Corey was the one that ended Michael, and they kind of looked at each other in their eyes and was like, I'm passing the torch now. And there was like a moment where Corey killed Michael because he wanted to not upset the girl he was obsessed with and in love with, and kill her grandmother or whatever, right? So I was really hoping that there was a moment there where Corey killed Michael and looked him dead in the freaking eyeballs, and they sort of just, you know what I mean? And the torch was passed. So no, I didn't need Halloween Ends because I could watch the last 20 minutes and know that Laurie killed Michael. I mean, it didn't matter. There was no payoff for me.
I want to ask the writing team if I could ask them any question is why the 4-year time jump? Were you really obligated to tell this in a linear story that sort of coincided with what we've been going through over the last 3 years with the pandemic? That seems to be the only reason why you
It's to
jump
age
that
him.
timeline.
It's to age Michael and to show, like, look, like you were saying, he's still been killing. He's been beaten, battered, and bruised. He's still killing, healing up, but he's also getting really old. And Lori and the town have just had an absolute enough of this.
Yeah.
Like, to me, it worked. The time jump was fine because it gives you that opportunity to sort of accept, like, okay, well, he's old. He's in his 60s or whatever. So it's all right. It's understandable.
I think the writers were trying to say and do a parallel to the first two movies. I watched this with my cousin, and I told you about him, Ted. I think he's got a doctorate in horror movies because his insights and intelligence is massive. And he pointed out that for him, he thought, and he's a harsh critic, like he's a Halloween diehard, and he said that this movie was passable. He's like, I had fun. This passed. It's not getting a gold star, but I had a good time.
Yeah.
And his reasoning that he was annoyed was that he felt that the three movies did too much homaging or panhandling to either fans or to previous movies and doing a lot of parallels. For example, Halloween 1 and Halloween 2, the originals, both have the same thing that Halloween and Halloween Kills have, which they both take place within the same amount of time.
Yeah.
Halloween 1 and then Halloween 2 is like her in the hospital right afterwards. Halloween and Halloween Kills, same exact day. And then the third movie is the different one, which is like Season of the Witch, which is like completely, different movie. So I think there's a lot of parallels that they're trying to do. And maybe that's to make transition easy for fans. You know what I mean? They're like, hey, we're going to do something you understand. So I feel like maybe that may have been going in their mind a little bit, quietly trying to put in elements that you recognize from previous movies without trying to be loud about it.
There you go. There you go.
right?
That could be
And
it.
you would know better than anybody. I mean, you know film, Brian. So it's I think I'm gonna go back and watch them. And I think I'm gonna watch a couple of the others because there are certain notes that they're hitting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's
There's a lot of pulls from these previous movies. It's worth a watch,
right.
man.
I, and
Absolutely.
This is fun.
I totally agree. And so I'm gonna go back and look at it again. But my first just initial reaction is just kind of like,
Maybe if you haven't done it in a while, I recommend everyone try this and let me know what you think. Do a binge, Halloween 70, the original, and then these three all in a row. Do a
what better
marathon
I
and
can
see
see
if
that,
you
yeah.
do it.
and what better week to do it? What
Right.
I mean,
Do that and then
Hey.
see if it works for you. See if anything changes. If it's still annoying or you like the journey.
all right, I agree. I'm gonna try it out. I will.
Absolutely. And don't forget, we want to hear from you guys. What did you rate Halloween Ends? Drop those ratings in the comments below. If you're listening to this on the podcast, be sure to email us on the contact page of our website at www.countdowntothegeekcast.com. Happy Halloween, everybody. We hope you guys enjoy yourselves. Stay safe out there. And visit our YouTube channel where you can find interviews with Scout Taylor Compton, who played Laurie Strode in the 2007 and 2009 films, as well as my interview with the one and only Tyler Main, who was Michael Myers in both those Rob Zombie films. Be sure to watch it because there are some bombs that he dropped, and I will talk more about that on our next Geekcast coming up this week. For the Geekcast, my name is Ted, aka Steady. Joining me on this episode is the one and only Jericho,
Later, y'all.
my partner in crime, Maddie B.
Crushed another can. It's another successful day.
And making his return, we'll have him back again, I promise. The director of the show, Brian Ortiz.
I'll end the same way I started. Thank you. I hate it,
Yes.
and I'm going to stick with it.
You're the
Happy
man,
Halloween,
though, Brian.
everybody.
You're the man.
Thank you.
Peace.
Woohoo! Happy